Hello, how's everyone doing today? So we're doing something a little bit different. We got Twinkies versus Twinkies. I'm just kidding. This is a vacuum channel. What am I saying? Alright, so we got this cool new vacuum head to head, but my mind's been thinking about Twinkies, so maybe we should do something with Twinkies. What can we do? So today in this head-to-head challenge, we got the Roomba 675 versus the Yeedi K650. They're both very similar price vacuums, but have very unique feature sets. So we'll see what vacuum is the best, and stay tuned. We'll see if the Twinkies survive. Okay, so they say that the Twinkies can last up to 10 years if you bury them in the ground. Maybe I should do that test. But looks like the robots are pretty gentle and they didn't smash the Twinkies up except for that one. I'm really not sure what happened with that one. So we have a pretty active lifestyle. Maybe you have a bathroom scale on the ground. Maybe you have some random boxes of mac and cheese. Or maybe just a teddy bear in the middle of your hallway. Whatever the case may be, I'm not judging. But the Yeedi K650 does a pretty good job avoiding the objects. Kind of keeps about an inch or two away from the objects. Now it does use infrared sensors. So if dark objects or like clear objects like glass, the raw vacuum will bump into them. So I do recommend kind of picking up the objects if you want the vacuum to occasionally bump into them. So the Roomba takes a little bit different approach. It's more of like a bulldozer style where it kind of pushes the object around if it's lightweight, but heavier objects will use its physical bump sensor to kind of navigate the object. I don't think it's going to cause really any damage unless you have really delicate like a guitar stand or something. So that's just something to be mindful of. So both these robot vacuums are random-based robots. What that means is they kind of randomly go around your floor plan, bouncing around, and eventually, if you give them enough time, they're able to cover the entire area. These are great for smaller areas like a one-bedroom apartment, a studio, and it looks like the Roomba does love mac and cheese, so it's going to go and take this boxed mac and cheese, cook it somewhere, and eat it somewhere else. Well, it looks like the Yeti has issues with the teddy bear. Maybe the teddy bear called it names or something. I have no clue, but maybe they should behave while filming. Anyways, so the Yeti uses a random pattern like the Roombas and eventually goes along the edges, then continues on with the random pattern. But I don't think the K650 forgave the teddy bear. Okay, let's talk about both these robots. I'll talk about the pairing process and some of the similarities and how you pair up these robots. Alright, so the first thing I do when I get the robot vacuums out of the box, I do find a nice suitable open area so it makes it easier time for these robot vacuums to find their docking station. Also, I do recommend letting these guys sit for about 3 hours to charge up the batteries. Sometimes out of the box the battery's a little low and you don't want to drain the battery all the way. Now, one nice thing about the Yeti is you do have this physical power switch. So if you're going away, like on a trip or something, you can turn off the robot and it won't drain the battery. Also, you do have this nice little reset button for the Wi-Fi. It makes it a little bit easier for the user to just reset the robot if you want to pair it to a new smartphone. Now, for the Roombas, I do like the trail carrying handle. This is something that the older models have. I don't think the newer models like the E5 or like the i7 have. I kind of wish they kept with the design, but I do like this carrying handle. And I do appreciate the spot clean function and the dock button right on the robot. It kind of gives extra features without having to use a smartphone. Okay, so to pair up the robot, it's pretty simple. One thing that Yeedi did is they actually added a QR code. So all you have to do is just launch your camera app and just kind of line up the QR code and it should just pop up a website. And this does support both Android and iPhones, so if you have either device, and you can also use tablets. So for this example, let me go and use the iRobot app. Just type in iRobot here. And it's called iRobot Home. And the pairing process is very simple. For the Yeti, you just press the Wi-Fi pairing mode here.
Ready for network setup.
And for the Roombas, you do have to hold down two buttons. I believe it's the dock button and spot button simultaneously. And you notice it just flashes a little Wi-Fi indicator. It doesn't actually tell you what's going on. So I do appreciate the Yeti's voice prompts, but sometimes people like the little beeping noises. It's up to you. So once you get the application all loaded up, just follow the prompts. It's pretty simple and straightforward. You may have to put in a Wi-Fi password. Keep in mind they only support 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi networks, not the 5 gigahertz. Most routers do have the dual band capabilities, so you can switch between the two Wi-Fi modes. Okay, so once you get everything paired up, let's go and see how well these guys do. The process is pretty easy. These guys are pretty easy to get started. And when my challenges, I actually did not have to pair up the app. I just pressed the clean buttons on both, and they got right to work. All right, hold on 1 second. Alright, let's go and wait at the dry rate the dustbins, and then we'll put down about 3 ounces of rice on my floors. We'll see how much these raw vacuums can pick up. We'll start with the Roomba here. You may notice that the Roomba actually starts with a spiral and spirals out until it hits the edge. And then it goes along the edges, and then it continues on with like a cleaning pattern. Then it goes along the edge again, and just continue on until it reaches all the areas. Now, one thing to know is the Roomba does have a dirt detection sensor, and it will actually spiral in a circle if it detects excessive dirt. That's something that the Yeedi doesn't have, so that's one thing to keep in mind. For dirty areas, the Roomba does a pretty good job. Okay, I went ahead and stopped around the 20-minute mark. I felt this was sufficient amount of time to cover this kitchen area. Now, one thing you may notice is it did miss this area here. Never really got on top of this raw mat. Maybe because it's a dark colored object and the cliff sensor style was like a cliff or something. So that's just something to be mindful of. This dark colored objects may hang up the Roomba. Now, I do appreciate that the Roomba does have a dirt detection sensor, so messy areas you have to spin 360 degrees to help concentrate in that area. So you may notice there's still some scattered rice right there. Well, once the robot gets kind of lifted up, it will lose suction and miss those areas. So that's just something to be mindful of. As lips, sometimes the robot vacuums will lose their suction. Okay, so underneath the cabinet area, you notice that there's still some dirt debris underneath the lip there. Also, there's a bunch around the corner of the chair legs. One thing I had mentioned to iRobot is if they can slow down the side brush. I do think the Roomba's side brush does spin a little too quickly, especially on hardwood floors, but it seems like they like to have a fast spinning side brush. Okay, so you notice some dirt debris underneath this chair leg as well. Alright, so let's go and get a stick vacuum. We'll clean up this area, and then we'll test out the Yeedi K650 and see how well it does. Hold on 1 second. So the Yeedi takes a different approach, kind of goes straight until it hits an object or it starts to do a random pattern. Then once it's done with its random pattern, kind of go along the edges and then continues on with the random pattern. Both these raw vacuums are pretty efficient, but one thing to know is the Yeedi does have like a dual side brush system, so it does a pretty good job capturing the debris on both sides of the robot and doesn't scatter the debris as much as on like the Roomba. Okay, let me show you how much these raw vacuums picked up, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this video. Okay, let's go and see how well the K650 did. You may notice my dark color mat had no issues, was able to get on top and clean there. Now along that edge there, once the vacuum got lifted up, it would lost its suction, was able to clean along that edge there. One thing to notice, the K650 had a weird cleaning pattern where it kind of stopped and spun 360 degrees a few times in one direction, then the other direction. I have no clue why it was doing that. That's just something I wanted to point out. Now along this lip here, it did a pretty good job, was able to get most of the debris, but you may notice a bunch of scatter around the corner of the chair legs and behind the chair legs as well. I do think the side brushes are nice having a dual system, but like the Roombas, they spin a little too quickly, so they tend to scatter the dirt debris around. So the K650 could use some work slowing the side brushes down as well. Alright, let's go and get the scale out, and we'll see which one actually picked up the most of the rice. Is it the K650 or was it the 675? Hold on 1 second. Okay, so if you like these types of videos, please smash that like button. Really does help out the video, helps out my channel, and it means the world to me. And eventually I'll figure out how to turn my scale on. That's probably the hardest part. Okay, let's start with the Roomba 675. You may notice that the vacuum was inside the dustbin. This is something that Roomba did with earlier models. I'm kind of did away with this design. But one downside to it is you do have less dirt and debris in the dustbin. But plus side is if you happen to damage the vacuum motor, well, it's pretty easy to replace. On the Yeedi K650, the dustbin is fairly large. I believe it's like 800 milliliters, so it makes it pretty easy to empty out, and also you can wash out the dustbin, so that's a huge plus. As you can see, both will have vacuums did a pretty good job picking up most of the dirt and debris, and it looks like the Yeedi K650 is the winner. Alright, let's go and wrap up this video. I'll give you my final thoughts. I felt that both these vacuums did a pretty good job cleaning. They're really designed for the smaller areas, and you just press a single button to get started. you don't necessarily need the application. You can actually run most of the features of the robot vacuums just from the single button there. Now, if you do have the application, you do have the scheduling feature, you do have a history option, and you may notice that on the Roombas has a dual extractor bar design, whereas on the Yeedi it's a single bar design. But with the Yeedi, you do have another extractor bar that's included. So if you have like carpeting, you can actually swap out the extractor bar, which is a nice plus. So you may notice that little silver disc on the Roomba, that's the dirt detection sensor, and the Roomba also has additional feature where it provides like a spot clean function, which I felt kind of scatters the debris around. So this feature is really designed for like maybe the carpets or heavier debris. Well, I want to give you guys a huge shout out. Thanks so much for watching over the year or so I've started this channel. You guys are awesome. You guys are the ones that make it possible. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot down a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions about these robot vacuums. And a huge shout out to Yeedi for providing both these robot vacuums in exchange for a review for this head-to-head challenge. And you may note that these robot vacuums do have some type of keep out zone. So for the Yeedi, you do have the magnetic strips. So kind of toss it out there and you can block out the area. And for the Roombas, well, you got this fancy little doodad, which basically shoots an invisible beam out, kind of like a force field, so you can block out those no-go zones. Okay, so you guys have a great rest of your day. You guys be safe out there. And again, thanks so much for watching my video. And I'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned because I got a lot of great vacuum videos coming down the pipeline. Hey guys, how's it going? Staten here.